If you're trying to get a grip on how you spend your money, you want to have one of these. What's up, everyone? Thank you for stopping by the Achieve Financial Coaching channel, where we believe in breaking the chains of debt and talking about all things related to personal finance. I'm Kenny Simon, your personal finance coach, and today I want to talk about something that is absolutely critical if you are serious about organizing your finances, and that is the B word, budget. It's a bad word in some households. Many people don't like it. But if you are serious about organizing your finances and giving yourself a solid foundation from which to build wealth or just get your money organized, a budget is absolutely critical. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and share with friends. Let's get started. So let's start the budget discussion with a formal definition of what a budget is. A budget is an estimation of income and expenses over a specified future period, and is usually compiled and reevaluated on a periodic basis. So for most of us, that period of time is a month, right? Estimation of income and expenses over a month. Budgets can be made for a person, a group of people, a business, a government, or just about anything else that makes or spends money. Couple of quotes that I love that speak to the importance of managing your money or having a budget or just tracking your expenses. One is a quote by Moses Tan, and it says, "Those who don't manage their money will always work for those who do." Also, Benjamin Franklin once said, "Beware of little expenses. A small leak can sink a great ship." I have personally seen this happen to many people that I know and care about. So there are really two main questions I want to answer in this video today. The first question is, why is budgeting important? And there are several reasons, and I'll just rattle off a half a dozen or so. But there are many more than just this. First of all, a budget is important because you maintain financial control. You can prevent overspending and things like that by organizing your finances in a budget. Budgeting eliminates a huge stress factor. We have a lot of stress associated with money, not handling it right, not having enough of it for things that come up in our lives. Also, budgeting helps you proactively avoid monthly cash flow shortfalls, which could lead to all sorts of drama. And then also by budgeting, you can eliminate that debt trap, I like to call it, or just the process of accumulating debt because you're spending and buying things, but you're not really tracking what you're spending. Also, having a budget, you all know this is one of my favorite things to mention, and I mention it in just about every video. It allows you to create an emergency fund for the unpredictable things that we know will happen. Also, budgeting allows you to set and achieve both short and long-term financial goals, and ultimately, budgeting is the cornerstone to building wealth. You will never accumulate a decent amount of wealth unless you just make a ridiculous amount of money without having some type of a budget. So if budgeting is so important because of all the reasons we rattled off, then why don't we do a budget? Well, I'll just tell you about some of the things that I've heard throughout my life and with some of my clients that I coach in my personal financing coaching practice. I think the number one reason is there is guilt and shame about our financial situation. People don't like to talk about money for this very reason. People are, they feel guilty about not handling their money right. They have shame about the financial situation they find themselves in, especially people who make enough money to not be in that situation. But we need to learn to get past that. There are also myths about budgets, right? Budgets are overly restrictive. Budgets are only for poor people. Just some very silly things being put out there. And so people believe that. They take it and run with it. And then some people believe budgets take a long time to create and manage. I think it's a lot longer time when you don't have a budget and you're struggling to manage your finances personally. Some people just flat out don't know how to do a budget, but you need to learn. It's not that hard. You just need to sit down and take time to do it. And then some people just have no discipline or patience when it comes to their money. They make their money. They want to spend it how they want to. They don't want to sit down and really, allocate every dollar. And then the second thing is you may live with someone or you may have grown up in a family where family members are not supportive of having a budget. Why would you do a budget? Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to track your money that closely? You may be married to someone like that or live with someone like that. And that is a major reason. So these are the reasons why we don't budget. But we need to really take stock of all of these reasons why budgeting is important and why we don't budget. And we need to figure out a way to get past those things because it is limiting your financial future. The last thing I'll say about why is budgeting important or why we don't, budget is that, listen, you have huge Fortune 100, Fortune 500 corporations and government agencies, although government agencies aren't the best at budgeting. But if corporations and government agencies think a budget is important and they set budgets and they deal with billions, sometimes trillions of dollars, then why don't we with our incomes? It just doesn't make any sense. We need to budget. So quickly, I would like to talk to you about what I call budgeting fundamentals. These are some things that will be critical in establishing your mindset and then things you need to think about as you start to build your own budget. The first thing I like to do is have people really assess their financial reality. So the first question, what is your current financial situation? You really need to just acknowledge where you are. Doesn't matter how poorly you've managed money in the past. You have to start here. Where am I currently? Second, do you know your numbers, right? What are your numbers? How much money do you actually make if you sit down and write down every little piece of income you make? And how much debt do you owe? Who do you owe, right? And what are the interest rates? You need to know all those details intimately. And you need to know where your money is going. Take the time to track your money over a month and see where you spend it. I have clients that spend so much money on things they didn't even realize they were spending it on, right? And then I think lastly, when you're trying to assess sort of your financial reality, what do you want to accomplish? What are some goals that you have for your money? Let's think about those four things as you are really assessing your financial reality. So after you've assessed your financial reality, there are four things I like for you to think about in terms of like just being a philosophy or a construct that you have in your head as you go to build your budget. First one is we do zero-based budgets. All that means is every single dollar you make has an assignment. So if you make $1,000 a month, you have to tell each one of those dollars where they need to go. Second thing is, as you start building your categories for your budgets, you need to prioritize the things that are important. That is food, that is clothing, that is shelter and transportation. Those things go into the budget first. You put the big rocks into the budget categories first. Next is, after you have, or as you're starting to organize your budget, you need to make sure that you are allocating enough money to build an emergency fund if you do not have one. And then I want you to think about the ratios after you've built your budget holistically. Take a step back and say, where's my money going when I look at the bigger picture? I like for people to have 50% going towards needs. So really you're spending half your money on needs, 30% towards wants, and then 20% is being invested. Okay, 50, 30, 20. You'll see other ratios out there. Some are 70, 20, 10, but you need to think about these things as you're building your budget. So we've answered a couple of questions. Why is a budget important and why don't we budget? And we've talked about some fundamentals, but I quickly want to just take you through a few steps on how you actually do a budget. Number one, start with your income. You make $1,000 in a month, so you know that, right? And so now what you want to do is line up your expenses and itemize your expenses until every dollar has an assignment. So you make $1,000, you've itemized your expenses to equal $1,000. Some goes to fixed expenses like a mortgage or rent. Some go to variable expenses like groceries, right? Which kind of change from month to month depending on what's going on. So you do that, and then you forecast, especially the expenses that aren't fixed, like the groceries, right? You forecast how much you're going to spend. You've itemized everything. You're forecasting that I'm going to spend, $200 this month on groceries. And then as the month proceeds, you track your expenses. When you make a quick trip to the grocery store, you spend $50, you put that into your budget. I don't care if you're writing it on a napkin, a piece of paper, construction paper, you have it in a fancy app or a homegrown spreadsheet. Find something that works for you to do your budget. So you're tracking your expenses now. Now, if you go over your forecasted amount for any expense, you have to pull that money from somewhere else, because at the end of the month, right, you cannot go over what your income is. And in this case, we talked about it being $1,000. So you can't now just spend, $1,200 because you wanted to buy more groceries. That is the discipline that is required, right? Nope, I went over by $200 in groceries. I pulled that money from something else, right? Some other expense that has some flexibility, some other variable expense. So that's what you do. You literally start with your income, you itemize it out, you forecast what your expenses are going to be, and then you track them and you modify as the month goes. And then guess what? You do it again next month. You actually do a budget every month. So when the month starts ending, you're at the end of, let's say you're at the end of March, right? You start planning for April's budget because it might have some slightly different things in April's budget based on what is happening in April. So don't just set one budget and use the same budget every month. You can use the majority of it, but there will be some unique things that happen every month. So you and your accountability partner, someone you're married to, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever lives with you and shares money with you, need to do a budget every month. Remember this, you can achieve much greater things than where you are today if you're willing to put in the work. Conceive it, believe it, and achieve it. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, dropping a comment, and sharing with friends. I'll see you next time.